Ladies, this is just such a robust panel. Thank you for putting this together, Mithu. Um, Thank you, everyone, for coming out on a Sunday. Thank you. I'm going to start with a question that they are fed up of because I've asked it in every panel, but I was telling them that this is going to be my sort of theme for this year. What is the last piece of work that you did that changed you in some way, or maybe changed the way that you look at the world, changed the way that you look at society? And it's interesting because y'all are all from such different fields that it'll be really interesting to get that perspective. Yeah, maybe.
First of all, thank you so much for having us here today. Very excited. I had the privilege of working on some incredible stories at Amazon.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult for me to put my finger on just one.
Sure.
The whole experience was extremely empowering for me.
Right.
And also, I think being an enabler for so many creative, diverse creative voices was exciting. But if I really think hard, I think The Hard, a show that we put out, which means The Roar in English, about this woman officer, police officer, from a certain strata and caste in society, who goes after this serial killer who masquerades as a school teacher in the day. And through that journey, the odds that she faces, the discrimination that she faces, and finally owns up to her own identity, I think it was very empowering. Yeah. It changed me in a lot of ways because I also come from Rajasthan. Right. And I have seen that kind of caste discrimination happen very, very close at home. I was reminded of my upper caste privilege and just filled my heart with so much more empathy.
And what an incredible show it was. I should put into context, Aparna is someone who's responsible for some of the most amazing game-changing shows that are on streaming today. Mirzapur and I'm just counting my favorites. Made in Heaven.
Mirzapur, Inside Edge,
Inside
Forgotten
Edge.
Army, Made in Heaven, Farzi, Family Man, Daha.
I call her the girl with the golden gut because her instinct for material is so strong. And lucky the place that she's now at Amir Khan Productions, where she's CEO, which is also led by another gentleman with an amazing gut.
Incredible.
Cannot wait to see what they do next. Sona?
Hello, yeah. Good morning to all of you. Thank you for showing up. It's afternoon, actually. And Rajiv, thank you for starting with a question which is not about this existence as a woman, And it's always women in a panel full of women discussing periods and their pains.
Do you think the industry is
and
kinder
the
to
audience
women
is
now?
also expected to be discussing and feeling our periods. And it's like we don't have an opinion or a mind to talk about every other thing that happens, So thank you so much. Having said that, I would think mine is a complete opposite kind of a shift this year. I decided to create a show called the Lal Pari Mastani Show. And it's a performing act which includes dance, music, of course, a lot of storytelling, a lot of multimedia, and, aspiring for world standards when it comes to presenting a show. Also, it took me back to my roots of being a nerd, because I had to start all over again, because it's a lot of shero shairi, poetry that I'm presenting along with hit music, which is again a zag. I've always, as an artist, like at the awards function, I could have come and sung an Ambar Sarya Naina, something which I know the Melbourne public is very easily going to hoot and feel happy for. What did I choose to talk about? Rape. What did I choose to sing about? Uncomfortable topics. And so this zigging when the world is zagging is something which I feel I have a desire, like a disease. But in Lal Pari Mastani, I'm performing a very commercial set, love songs, and the 7 stages of love, from Pehli Nazar to Maut and Ibadat and Diwangi. And so it's very beautiful and poetic. But what it took me back to is a lot of reading, learning, and, pushing that muscle memory to be able to present. वो जो शायरी होती है, एक अंदाज होता है, it calms you down. I went down to read, I went down to watch a lot of, poetry sessions, and then you realize there's a whole India there, and there's a whole lot of there's so much to learn as an artist yet. I don't have to just go with what I know already and, just have that easy way out. So that's been transformative. Also, traveling with a team of 28 people and leading them and, presenting the show. I mean, it's a whole beautiful experience. And I hope to bring it to Australia at some point. Yeah.
I know Meetu introduced all the four panelists, but I'm going to take one second quickly. I also want to put into context, Sona is one of those incredible artists who is, I was going to say, one of probably the most outspoken artist in the industry back home, in a business where it's not, where most people out of fear, out of discomfort, do not speak about what needs to be addressed. She's someone who puts her money where her mouth is, and her art is always reflective of the times we're in and really what we're going through. So more power to you, Sona. Thank you. Thank you. Mithila?
Thank you. So I'm also a Rajasthani girl. And I've been writing Australian TV for 15 years, doing whatever I can to try and get some kind of Indian character, Indian story. But the last project I just did was my project, my first creation here, 4 years later, which will be the first truly Aussie Indian TV series ever made. I'm so proud of it. It's changed my life because it's shown me that dreams can come true. It is truly a lifelong dream, and it's great because we're getting feedback from Indian Australians. And, when we were shooting in India, our Indian crew, when we were shooting in Australia, our Australian crew, where everyone is able to relate to this story. So I'm just so proud of that, to be able to tell a nuanced, real, desi Aussie story without leaning into any of the stereotypes. So that's absolutely, it's been a lifetime in the making and has changed my life.
How wonderful. We're so lucky to have Mithila on this panel. Mithila has really put, in her own way, put India and Indians on the map when it comes to representing. And it's not just for representation, but actually again, putting her money where her mouth is, showing up and putting Indian characters in roles that are not just your standard not even standard. I think they're your the obvious, just token characters, and thank you for that, Mithila. And now I think with you in that driver's seat, I think we'll see a lot more brown people representation in white people stories and a white industry, if you like. Rima?
With me, I always working, simultaneously in different projects, but last 2 years, if I would like to say about my Melbourne, for which project I am here, because this is the first project I worked outside my country and with Australian cast and crew, and it was kind of step out of my comfort zone. Yeah. When I reached here, I was nervous. And earlier also, I worked with authentic cast and crew, but individuals from disability, it was challenging, and surely Me Too helped me a lot and supported me also. And my process is organic and intuitive. What is written on paper when I am there, shooting the film, I always improvise. Yeah. But everyone allowed me, the team allowed me to do that. And I learned a lot, I'm saying again and again that it helped me to be mindful and thoughtful, being sensitive towards our fellow human being, and the capacity, the volume, they have, which we ignores. And I remember, I was hesitant to cast the little Emma, because I was like, for me, I shoot my films for longer period of time, I have been shooting my now it is going to also come very soon, Village Rockstars 2 sequel, and that I have been shooting last 3.5 years. So this film in a different country, in a challenging environment, we had only 5 days to shoot. So in that, you need to be sensitive. And then I was hesitant to cast little Emma. I thought I wouldn't be able to push her. And I mean, there was that pressure to needed to finish the film in 5 days. But me too, she really, that time, she just supported and encouraged. And the whole film, I keep forgetting. Whenever I'm speaking in front of people, I keep forgetting and also being nervous sometimes. But in the whole film, my real inspiration was for my Melbourne, that part, Emma, Parina, Mitu's daughter. I must say, she was my inspiration, and because really spent some good time with her, and I know that story from where it came from, like why Mitu is giving so much heart and passion to this project, and Natasha is there, Benu, and all the whole team, and beautiful time I spent with our cast, that they opened to me. I listened to them. That is how, the film starts happening actually. Because without that, I was a bit clueless. Because I'm a person, if I'm creating something, I need to know about my characters, from where they're coming, what is in their mind. But Nathan, Rihanna, Little Emma, everyone, they open to me. I'm grateful to them and everyone for this film. And again, yeah, a little bit of Village Rockstars again. I'm also looking forward to this film because although it's a sequel, you will see how we have so many talents, and how they are not privileged, and how they need to grow up so fast and just no support. So that's you are going to see in the sequel. Yeah. Thank
Very
you.
excited about Village Rockstars. For again, to put it into context, Village Rockstars became a festival favorite overnight and put Rima on the map, and Rima put India on the map. And since then, Bulbul Can Sing and Tora's husband have been doing the festival rounds. She's someone who works outside of the system and has managed to make these incredibly personal stories. She writes, shoots, directs, edits, does pretty much everything herself in her hometown, and works with non-professional actors and derives such beautiful, authentic performances from them. So more power. Rima.
Thank you, and thanks to you, because coming from that village, that period of that beginning, and you supported a lot. Thank you so much. Thank you. And about Sona, I'm so, it's like I should have watched your live show earlier, but that day, I really loved how you created, it was like a cinematic journey for me. You created a film on stage, and it was so, touching. Thank you.
Ladies, each of you in your respective fields and your respective jobs are sort of, Rima works completely outside of the system, but none of you are sort of towing the line in a sense. Aparna, the kind of material that you put out, the kind of shows that you put out, there was no precedent, at least in the Indian landscape. So now your music, Mithila, what you're doing with putting Indian actors front and center, putting Indian characters, populating Australian projects with them. These are unprecedented things. Tell me what it's, we don't want to make this a pity party, but I want to ask you, how hard is it to be able to do what you want to do, working in a system and a landscape which is always resistant to change? And also, I didn't want to say this so early on in the show, allowing women to have a voice in the room.
When you try to swim against the tide, it is tough. So when I remember about 9 years ago when I joined Amazon, and because of the journey that I'd had, of being an assistant director, then trying to be an independent producer, it was very tough. It was really tough for a woman. I decided that I'd actually vowed that whenever I'm in a position of influence, there are some things that I'm going to do. I'm going to open the door for as many new voices as I possibly can. I will ensure that there's a seat at the table for women, and if there isn't, then I'll drag the chair myself. And I will give people the time. You know, they take years to write a story, and the least that we can do as people on the other side of the table is give them the listening ear. It was tough days. Like you said, there was no precedence. One thing that I realized very early on, that people were coming with a lot of feminist stories with absolutely no women in the writer's room. So, you know, it was their idea of feminism that was there on paper, but really no lived experience. And, you know, one started by saying that it's important to have women in the writer's room, but there was a lot of fierce opposition. Some people called me feminazi. Some told me that you're just trying to tick the boxes. But I realized that if we don't put certain things as mandates, it's not going to go down. So we started a new thing by saying no diversity, no green light. If there are no women in the writer's room, please don't come to us. We will not greenlight the project. It was met with a lot of opposition, but I'm so happy to share that after 2 years, it became a norm. The first thing people come and say is that we have a really diverse writer's room. We have so many women, even without us asking. Right. It was tough, but I feel because we made it a mandate, and certain things I feel need to be done like that, it's become a lot more.
And those shows are
open.
richer as a result of that. I mean, I
feel
cannot
so.
imagine what the same characters in a show like Mirzapur, I cannot imagine what that would be if the only lens applied there was the male lens. Rasika's character. I mean, I cannot imagine what that would have turned out to be, and what an empowering character she is. And I'm guessing it's because of the women who are.
No, absolutely. Because in fact, we had run a campaign called Women in Mirzapur. The other thing that I realized was that and I'm absolutely cognizant of the fact that not every story can have women in the lead, or they can't be female led. But every story has women, and they have to be strong, and they have to have agency, and they have to have a voice. They can't just be wallflowers. So the other thing that we started doing, and it's very reductive and very basic, is the Bechdel test. At least get your script ticked there. At least it should be, it should pass the simple Bechdel test. I remember very distinctly, there was this one creator who had come to us with a very masala story, filled with bravado and masculine energy and a lot of action, and it was going to work. One knew it. All I said was that make one character woman, and he said, no, we can't do that. Do you see my characters? So I said, okay, let's talk about your characters. Who is this character? So he said, she's this character is very strong, does a lot of stunts, very macho, has a mind of his own, will not take nonsense. And I said, if you just replace that he with she, that she can do absolutely everything. So he said, so are you telling me that there's going to be no green light if we don't do that? I said, pretty much. And they changed it. And honestly, the show is richer for that. Right. So yeah, one needed to do a little bit of that.
Lovely. Thank you for that. Sona?
I came from a Fauji background. My father was in the armed forces. I never grew up feeling conscious about my gender, or that anything will be tougher because I was born this way. And yet, and maybe I was this crazy ball of energy who was rolling through life and not seeing things for what they were. But by the time I reached my engineering college, when I wanted to stand for elections, because I just thought I was a natural, I want to be in charge of things. And it was like unheard of, because there were 18 women to 350 guys. And how dare you even think that you are going to stand for elections? So having, and then it started hitting me that, oh, there is a problem. I have 2 aberrations here. I grew 2 breasts, and मुझे बताया जा रहा है कि दुपट्टा यहाँ पे पहनो, वहाँ पे पहनो, या आपका personality ऐसा है, खटकता है, लड़कियों को भी खटकता है, because even the women around, and that's the point I want to make, there's such a deep entrenchment of what we say is our conditioning, that even a personality which is out of ordinary, or whatever I have a habit, we have a habit of self-depreciating, to feel, crack jokes on the fact that you don't fit in. So as I went, I realized that, I have to follow my gut. I will join FMCG when I'm being told that sales, sabun, tel, you will go into the interiors it's not a thing for you can join Accenture, you're a topper, you can go to consultancy, but I always made choices which were a little off. And not because I had a point to prove, because I really enjoy that, thing of going out there and testing waters. So having said that, when I decided to quit my job in the corporate and become an artist full time, it was a leap of faith, which nobody could understand, especially my parents and family. But I have never regretted it. I have always felt that I will march to my own tune. I do not have to fit into that hierarchy of things. I do not have to walk into Filmfare Awards when I'm a nominee as for Best Singer. But because in the hierarchy and caste system of things, some starlet or actor needs to sit in the first 5 rows and I need to sit with technicians in the nth row. I have a very classy, sober and different personality of a husband who will say, that's all right, I don't think we need to push our way around. I'm the one who will say, I'm a nominee, I should sit in the front, I will demand for what I think is rightfully mine. So it's sometimes exhausting, mostly for people around me. I am very comfortable being myself. But I think, be it calling out IIT for not ever hosting a female headliner on their Indigo stage, to going into a quota and thinking, why is it that the principal secretary, a senior IS officer, needs to call me to his dark bungalow without a prior invitation, without a formal thing? So I refuse to go. And it becomes a big scandal in the small place. But then I write an open letter which goes viral. And then it's this big conversation. And what I hear about myself every now and then is I'm in the heart of some controversy, not being talked about for music, but for what I speak up for. And the thing is, over and over again, there are well-wishers who tell me that, you are such a good musician, you are such a good artist, what you do on stage is, undeniable. So why don't you just stick to that, because there's much more commercial returns for that. You are ruining your chances to do so much more because you kind of make people wary. Even the best of people do not want to, have you have a microphone in your hand. And yet, I think sometimes I feel you're one of those few people in the mainstream industry who actually watch Shut Up, Sona. You gave us our first entry into the world of festivals thanks to that award that you conferred upon the film. And I feel, I'd like to end it with the fact that I don't think there's any other way for me to be. I think when I go on stage and 5 lakh people do show up for me, even if I haven't gotten hundreds of filmy hits, and I don't cater or pander by singing the latest covers, but India is giving me so much love that it validates the fact that there is a space for an artist like me, there is a space for a woman like me. I'm here for the second time in Melbourne, treated just as well as any other person here. And I think that goes for the best validation for, being yourself, standing up for what you believe in, and keep putting out the music, and you'll find allies, because I've found some brave allies, and I want to give credit to the fact that there are some incredible men, as many incredible men out there as there are women, and women need to listen up to this. When I was at the Saregama show, I was the first judge in 23 years, in their marquee show on Z. There was a press run around 23 years mein pehli mahila judge pe aayi, and they did this whole inclusivity card was flashed about how they have progressed to those times where there's a female judge there, permanent female judge. They always had guest judges. Asha Tai will come, Alka ji will come, but they'll never. It's 3 men deciding who are the singing. So here, after that press run, the Me Too movement, thanks to the Malayalam cinema, because they are the women who spoke up, they are the brave women who spoke up, I spoke up. And overnight, within 24 hours, my SUV reached the shooting and the gates were shut. I wasn't allowed in. Is it perimenopause? Is it started? Why am I feeling hormonal here? Otherwise, the thing is, I was thrown out of my seat for speaking up, because while the media enjoyed it, they put it on the cover because I was the only woman in Bollywood who was still relevant, who was on a TV show, who spoke up so openly and bluntly about the situation. all the people in charge in the TV channel were at that point of time women. You know, the head was a woman, the creative director was a woman. They threw me out overnight. So women need to be kinder to women and to stick their necks out. And men, even the best of men, probably they have such a tough life themselves, struggling, making their mark, making their money, just finding their own voices, that maybe we shouldn't expect that, but I wish more men spoke up. 2 men spoke up, you know. Somebody spoke up in the public domain saying, it's not all a lie. Till now, Anu Malik has found a seat back on the same chair. No TV channel make amends to call me back. But the men have all been reinstated. They are back. But it's not a sad day. It's a cathartic feeling for me that I hope to see him carry the shame for a lifetime. I will not apologize to his daughters. I've had grown men come up to me, you know, very successful one. Didn't you think of his poor daughters do you know what they must be going through? Is anybody thinking of all those underage girls that he exploited on a longest running music reality show? When Dennis Sequeira spoke up, now she's in Saturday Night Live, she spoke up saying every time we complained to the producers, they turned a deaf ear. And just day before yesterday, before coming, there was a big music conference in India. And people were taking selfies with Anu Malik. And my friends, when I wrote into them saying, did you forget what happened about those 12, 13 women? They had the temerity to say, Sona, I think you should move on. I think you've been singing that song for too long. Why don't you just get over it? I will not get over it till the day I die. I will not apologize for being this banshee who feels that for speaking up, it will change in the coming days. IIT Mumbai has finally called in women to perform on their main stage, not me. The numbers of NH7, because you watched the film, the participants of headliner women artists would be as low as 4%. Me putting out those statistics year after year after year would irritate everybody. It's come to 19% now. So somebody is listening subconsciously. Somebody is feeling that we need to change things. And the whistleblower is not going to wear the, going to eat the mithai of it all. But then there will be production houses like Amir Khan Productions who won't give a damn and say it's okay, Sona can sing a song because nobody else does. Then I have an ally like Ram Sampat, Mere Brahmastra. तो गाने तो हम अच्छे बना ही देते हैं. And I put out my own music, I run my own label, I have a great team, I have nothing much to cry about. I buy everything that I want to. And, I'm in a great place. So I think living my life the way I am every day is just a validation of, that things are getting better day by day. There's nothing, I think we need to celebrate that. It's a victory. It's a victory through and through.
Thank you for sharing all of that. Really, I don't know what to say. Thank you. It's been difficult here. Most of the writers' rooms I've done here, not all, over 15 years, I'm not just the only Indian, I'm the only non-white person in that room. So it's a heavy burden. But like anything difficult in life, I always say it's a blessing and a curse, depending on the support you have. So you need good people around you, but also your own attitude. And I've been able to maintain my optimism. But going into the responsibility of being able to create my own show, I was really lucky to have our broadcaster SBS, which is our multicultural broadcaster here. They work in 60 languages. So I found a home, which was really exciting. And then I thought, now I've found this home, I have to create a home for other people like me. The girl who went to Me Too, I went to Me Too to get Salam Namaste because I didn't have access to anything else that I could relate to, even 5%. So that was the script I read, and because even sometimes, I've pitched in India as well, and sometimes you go there and you kind of go, am I pitching an Australian story in India? Am I pitching an Indian story in Australia? This is the most competitive world. How do you sell? How do you sell it? But thanks to SBS and a lot of support, I managed to find a home. And then I thought, this is really difficult. I can't go in as a woman. Like, I can't do this as a woman. I've just got to, because I'm already the only brown person, so I've got to just be a brown person. I've got to choose. And then I thought, I'm here, but I can't get everything in my first show. And my plan is to stick around and make many more. So I had to come up with 3 deal breakers. And I was like, I will find ways to compromise if I have to, but I have 3 deal breakers. One is all South Asian writers in my writer's room. And we got that. It's really great. We cried on our first day because none of us had had that before. So we were like crying. We're like, we should probably do some work now. So that was deal breaker number 1. Deal breaker number 2 was I have to be an executive producer because I didn't want to hand over years of work and say, please do it justice. So I got that over the line. And the 3rd deal breaker was it has to be good because I don't want an all-brown room and be an executive producer and it be a bad show so it doesn't happen again. And so it was a blessing and a curse because we were held to a different standard by everybody, including ourselves. It couldn't just be good scripts, it had to be phenomenal scripts because otherwise it wouldn't get made in Australia. And, you know, it nearly killed us at the time. It took 3 years in development, which is pretty long by Australian standards, of scripting, rewriting, editing. Then we did our casting, we rewrote again, just keep going and getting it better. I was rewriting on set. An incredible experience, but nearly killed me. But then now I'm at the other side of it, watching the show with my colleagues and family, and I'm like, it's a blessing. Because that curse that nearly killed me has made sure that the show is something we can all be proud of. And there can't be a better blessing than that. So that's kind of been, I'm hoping the first one is the most difficult, but you don't know. Maybe the pressure of the second one will make it more difficult. I'm not sure, but I'm still here for it.
Well done.
You know, you're working in a system that is, you know, that doesn't always allow you to do exactly what you want to do. How difficult is it to be able to have a voice in a business that often doesn't allow you to have a voice?
It's a long story. And everyone, we are having our own story. Like Sona, I'm also, you can imagine coming from that village. And I wanted to be an actor. So my journey in Mumbai, it was when I landed there, it was coming from Northeast, my looks, everything was not right for the industry. So I completed my, master's coming from family, like from academic background. So it was a cultural shock for me. So I can talk, sometimes it is good that with me, I think when I started shooting Village Rockstars, I evolved certain way because I worked with these real people from that village. I saw their struggle, although I grew up in the same village, but my understanding when just before college, quite different. And when I started, I reconnected again. So in Bombay, I don't want to say, जैसे मैं कुछ थी नहीं, you know. I was nothing. It is probably other time I'll talk about it. And from there, I can share that I died. Simply, I died. And then with my films, with my first film, it was really tough, Manu the Binoculars, when I again back home. Then I faced a lot of, doubt in my fellow, whoever working in that film. I was really going like hard time, you know. I was in heavy depression. I stopped acting because at times I found out that I couldn't smile. I went for auditions and I couldn't smile. I know what to do, but I couldn't do it. I mean, couldn't express myself. And then, but it came as blessings to me. And coming from that village, I was always best actress in my school, colleges, and always, I mean, got, encouraged by teachers or other people. So anyway, now I have a lot of stories, but over the period of time, I developed some spiritual belief that helped me get out of it. I realized when I was making Village Rockstars that with bitterness and anger, I cannot create something positive things and give positivity to the world. That is what I realized in my early life, our early career. Like when I was making Village Rockstars, it just transformed. I also gone through a bad relationship breakup and all those what I got from Bombay. Uh, in the beginning, I felt homeless. I felt, like I was just useless kind of a feeling from everywhere. But something transformed me, like with Village Rockstars. Because I saw flood in front of me, I saw everything, how these people and the kids, especially the children, their innocence, power of innocence, and their dreams and hopes. I just realized that if I am so much negativity inside me, then I cannot create good things. So that's how all that time from there, I'm working just like that. And when I see the world, what Sona is doing, a lot of things are happening around me. But every time I keep checking on myself, I keep asking that I want to do so many things. I want to speak out. But I need to do something what I need to do. And mostly I just focus what I am doing, what I'm capable of, that is how I can contribute. And this whole world for me, it's not real. Like that Shakespeare said rightly that we are also just actors. I don't know why it's happening, why some people are, behaving like this. But closely work with, if it's woman, man, then I realize that so many things, bad things are rooted, it's, and so many men I know, even my brothers and fellow human beings who are working with me, I realize that they also unknowingly doing it. That is my realization. They even don't know. They think that it's right. It's their perspective, they think it is right. That's how their karma is. That is what I believe. And I just hope I when filmmaking came to me out of nowhere, then I feel like it's a blessing for me, and I need to do it, I need to keep telling stories. That's it. Thank you.
Before I open it out to the room, I want to ask each of you, what do you know now that you wish you could go back and tell your 20-year-old self when you were starting out? If you, yeah, sorry. Okay, sorry. I didn't mean. I meant when you were starting out. What do you know now that you wish you could, go back and tell yourself when you were starting out, or if you like, tell someone who's starting out in the business now.
I would tell my younger self who's starting out that, life is a marathon and there's going to be time, and that you can be kinder to yourself. And the importance of having a community. It is so important to have your own tribe that is there with you, to cheer for you, to be there when you're down, to lift you up, to just listen to you sometimes. And I feel, what we've now been able to achieve, get women together, be there for each other. There was no one when we were starting out. There was nobody. There are so many more interesting women on screen, behind screen that you can look up to. You can find role models. There weren't any when we were starting out. I think that's really important, the community.
I love it.
I'll say something which will sound like I'm in complete contradiction to Aparna, but actually it's not. It's completely different. What I would tell myself, I figured that not all of us are social beings. Mitu has the superpower of being able to get 100 people around her. Um, and then there are people who enjoy themselves in a crowd, socializing, networking, and just being with friends over the weekend. I was never one of them. Be it in a girls' hostel, I was a lone wolf, for lack of any female equivalent. Is there some female thing of lone wolfess or something? No, it's yeah, there is now. And I would tell myself, and while you are that person, you're not comfortable with yourself, thinking, is there something wrong with me that I like doing things my way? I like being alone. I don't necessarily seek help or like to have a big group of friends rallying around me. And I would tell my younger self, it's perfectly okay being who you are, because not all of us are meant to be that person. I go on stage, and even if I have 100,000 people, I'm 10 times the woman I am. I'm like a racehorse raring to get on stage. Nothing can faze me. I'm not nervous. I talk on stage like it's my personal drawing room. And I don't have to be the audience. I don't have to be that person who also gets along with everybody. And now I'm finally, kind of with some help of therapy from the husband, in a comfortable space, saying that just be who you are. You are who you are. And thank you for that, Ram. And I would tell that to just about, that's what I would tell my young self, that, you are great the way you are. And while everybody would see me as being very confident, very front foot ka khiladi, I had all the self-doubts. I still do. I will go into that press conference in Melbourne. And yes, I genuinely feel everybody is equal, and I will talk to them, and I'm not fazed by the hierarchy and the caste system of things. But I also am very aware of foot in mouth all the time. But it's more to do with a lot of awkwardness and also defensiveness. So to have met people who just accept me for who I am and are okay with it, and you are one of them, Mitu, So, and Rajiv, so are you. You are my first friend in IFF Melbourne, where I said, he's the guy I'll have breakfast with, I can really have a conversation with. And, this is an improper to say, but most people want to hang out with actors, and they're the last ones I would ever want to chat with, because they're mostly about themselves, or they're looking around to see who's the more important person to talk to. Kahan se kya, it's a very different. So I'm like, these are the people I love talking to. Aparna is the one I hung out with this press conference. We are women who work, and then there are amazing men. So I think we are in a good place. I would just tell my younger self, things are going to get better and better and only get better. And they really do.
Well, I'm a people pleaser through and through. I would literally, the amount of time starting out, I would bite my tongue, and then I'd go home and then feel awful and anxious. And then as I got older and a bit more experienced and my confidence grew, I stopped biting my tongue and saying more and speaking out. And I realized that the anxiety of speaking out is less than the anxiety of biting your tongue. That sickness, when you're like, I could have stood up for someone, I could have stood up for myself. So what I've learned, and what I would tell the younger Mithila, is it doesn't matter if they like you, they should respect you. And those two are very different things, and especially in a professional context. Even though we all become best friends, we all love each other, we support each other, but that respect needs to be the foundation, not the fact that you've made them feel good about themselves.
I just have to add a bit to this. As I went on in life, I realized the people whom I really wanted as friends during college, during MBA, people whom I thought, they wrote in to me eventually about how much they looked up to me, or how they talked. When they meet me with their parents, it's like, you're the person I want my parents to meet. And I realized it didn't matter that I wasn't part of every fun party and I was seen as, it's totally okay. Because as you rightly said, the respect was there, and it didn't matter if you were not their best friend,
Yeah.
Again, I'll ask.
If you could go back and tell your younger self something that would perhaps give your younger self more confidence today, what do you know today that you didn't know when you were starting out?
It's complicated. It's a lot of things I probably don't remember, you know. As it with me, for me now, let me talk about now what I take it. It's like anything natural is good for me. Anything naturally coming, just being gentle to myself and not forcing anything. And some people come for a moment, just for a minute, some forever. You know, it just, I go with that flow. I just follow my intuition. And if I'm meeting someone for just a minute, also is so beautiful for me. And just love, just I want to love people. I just want to love everything. I mean, that is how I want to live my life. It, I try. It's not that I'm always like this, you know. And if some problems happen, something I'm uncomfortable, I try to accept it. I then probably not talking to anyone. I'll be in my room, you know, taking a walk by myself, hugging a tree. I do my own things, figuring out, you know. I'm just figuring out how to not allowing to affect me. You know, that is how it is. Also, I think I last 1 year before, probably I went to Vipassana. So, not reacting, you know, that helps, I think. Thank you.
There's lessons there for all of us.
Sorry to interrupt, Rajiv. This would be a good point to show Mithila's trailer, if that's okay. Her film trailer.
Yes, so it's
It's a short,
Of course.
it's like a tiny little teaser because SBS will announce the release date, but it's coming soon. So they've prepared just a little bite size. Yeah, it would be amazing. Thank you.
Tell me how you two met. We just kind of.
This is Yashin Shree, and this is how it started.
You should be here. This is just a waste of time. जल्दी आओ.
हाँ लास्ट मोमेंट पे पेशेंट आ गया था.
So very teasy, it doesn't give much away. You'll just have to watch the show. It's shot between Mumbai, Jaipur and Sydney. And it's the story of a couple who have been separated for 4 years, and the series opens with them joining each other again in a new country. And it's a dual timeline. We flip between them meeting, the present day, what happened in the 4 years apart. And the series asks, can love transcend space and time?
How lovely. Cannot wait. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. We can take a few questions. Yes, Mr. Nanda.
I am Neeraj from South Asia Times. I've been in this festival for 15 years now. Me too. I am asking you. No, because there are 4 women there and 1 here, 6, you know. So she is our boss, you know. And my question is a bit unusual, but not for just Amazon Prime, you know. It's for everyone. I saw 2 movies, you know. And one was Animal, which is a super hit, and then Monkey Man. And I was very disturbed, you know, by the violence. Not that if a script demands violence, it has to be there. I don't mind that. But there was too much excessive violence. And then recently we had this incident in Calcutta, which most people know. So I want you to comment, maybe you can or maybe anyone, that these things also lead to gender this thing and violence, you know. So please comment on that. Thank you very much. Anyone.
I no longer work with Amazon Prime. I'm just saying, and both the films are on Netflix. I feel that, we need to be authentic to the script. Whatever's there in the script, you need to translate that in the best possible way on screen. But I also believe that stories have the power to influence, to shape minds. So as storytellers, we have a big responsibility because we are shaping people, we are influencing cultures, we are creating characters that will become a part of the popular zeitgeist, popular culture. So it's really important that we are aware and cognizant of that responsibility, that this content that we are creating will outlast us, will remain for posterity, and will keep influencing and will keep getting discussed. I take that responsibility very, very seriously, and therefore diversity, equity, inclusion are very, very important tenets for me whenever green lighting or working on a story.
Does anyone want to add to that? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The gentleman here in the black. Excuse me.
Hi, this is a question for Rima. Really love everything that you have done so far and really look forward to what you're going to do next. I have a question for you. As a consumer of films, what are the things that inspires you apart from the real life events happening around? What are the other filmmakers that you look up to you from around the globe, including India? What are the subjects that inspires you to continue doing and explore in the filmmaking?
I'm in love with cinema because I have been doing this. When I came to act, it didn't happen. So when I started making movies, I realized that I'm in love with cinema. So in my initial period of time, I think I was quite mesmerized by Tarkovsky, Fellini, Wong Kar-wai, Kurosawa, Satyajit Ray, even Majid Majidi. So over the period of time, I loved that how, that visual power, and sometimes you see the simplicity in some films and also the complexities. So it's quite interesting for me. I especially like that, the visuals, that medium, also the craft and style. With myself also, every time I'm doing something, I try to, upgrade myself, my skills and the craft. That excites me. And also excites me how the all art, like this is the seventh art, so how you can include in cinema the other art forms also. That is mesmerizing. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Swapnesh, and I'm actor and producer as well. Like Mithila, I'm doing this Indian-Australian storytelling, trying to produce content through my companies. It's a startup company, but before I reach to the question, Sona, I just wanted to say your song on Satyamev Jayate, Mujhe Kya Bechega Rupaiya, had such an important impact on my sister and me. Okay, because we faced dowry issue, and I don't know how many times I and my sister sat together and heard that song. It wasn't, that cry wasn't of weakness, it was of strength. So thank you very much for that. So yeah, thank you. My question was specifically about the queer content that my production company focuses on making. We are trying to make Indian-Australian queer love story. What happens when I go here to pitch my content, I don't see any fear. I don't feel any kind of fear to go and pitch the story. But Aparna, just to understand from your point of view, I'm making this documentary called Queering India and how it's changing India after Section 377 to marriage equality. And I went to a lot of production companies to see if they are interested. And the one thing that was very common was who is going to listen this story, like who is going to see whatever is changing. So I decided to put my own money into it, and I anyway made it. And in 3 to 4 languages we are making it. We spoke to the people on the street to understand what their understanding is. What happens when we go to production companies and how they see, because you are 4 women sitting there, you know when women don't exist on narration or in pre-production, their story is not coming out. What happens when you write queer stories and there is nobody who is there to actually write the story truthfully? Thank you.
You never came to us. We created a show called Rainbow Rishta. I don't know if you've seen it. Went on to get a GLAD nomination. It's a show about queer love stories, made by all queer people and loved by all. We made a docu-series called Love Storia, and that has some incredible queer stories. Made in Heaven, a mainstream show where one of the protagonists is a gay man, you know, and this was the first time that a lot of people were seeing authentic representation of people from LGBTQIA plus community. A film like Majama that we produced, you know, where your main protagonist comes out about her sexuality, you know, so late in life. So I've never feared that, and I feel those stories don't exist, those audiences don't exist because there have never been stories about it. If you tell the stories, audiences will come. And it's important to tell those stories, because how else will you tell stories that are inclusive, that reflect everybody's lived experience? Patal Lok, you know, Chini's character, we actually went to Northeast and cast somebody who was going through a transformation, workshopped with that person. The easier thing would have been to just cast any actor. But one believed that that representation is important. There's a show called In Transit that's coming on Amazon very soon. It is about that. So I don't fear it. You should come to me.
And I do want to add that when I made, Shut Up Sona as a documentary, which is why I came here. So again, it's very funny. Sometimes you think, why is it that the obvious home could have been a Netflix or a Amazon, but it didn't go there. And we went through all the festivals of the world, but we couldn't even get a meeting with any of these guys to sell our film in. We won through the festival circuit, but sometimes you don't know how the stars align, and I put in my own money, and then we got into the pandemic, and you realize, oh my God, there's no way to recover this, what the hell? A first-time filmmaker has blown up all my savings by going over budget, and what do I do? But here's the thing, this is the irony, and this is the beauty of the world. I got thrown out of the Z network as a judge just while I was ending shooting that film. Z is the most unlikely home for Shut Up Sona. It was bought by Z, and then it went on to get bought out by a lot of broadcasting companies. It's playing on television in Sweden and Korea and Belgium. So, you'll find your home, and sometimes you just need to put your money where your mouth is, You don't know why at that particular point you don't fit into somebody's slate, That's how it is.
I'd also like to say you should take your documentary to SBS. Like that, if you want it released in Australia, that's that home. They're so great, so supportive, whatever stage you're at. So I'd really recommend that. And just, you can already tell by the way you are that, you've got a lot of passion and you've got the stories to tell. So tell them. I do think now is the time. There was once a time where you could either be brown or either be gay or either be a woman, but it feels like intersectionality is finding its voice finally, because people are watching global content, people are getting bored of the same old crap. So now is your time. Yeah, ABC is interested in it. Yay! Yeah. Awesome. Can't wait to watch it.
Excuse me. It was excellent hearing all of you and could relate to it 200%. You all have excellent story. I just wanted to know, is there any way, Sona, your thought process can be cloned, so we just don't have Sona, we have Sona hi Sona? Every house, there should be Sona everywhere. The world would be a different place.
So lovely.
We might have time for one more question if there is one. Otherwise we will. Okay, the lady in the back.
First of all, I would like to say to Sona ma'am, thank you so much for sharing all that you shared today. My girls were part of her performance, the Bharatanatyam dances on Friday, and she, like what Meetu ma'am said, she truly is someone that respects everyone, because those girls were in such awe of how much respect and kindness they got from her. And the second thing that I wanted to say was, in what you had shared was, you mentioned how women also need to be kinder to other women. And thank you for sharing that, because I feel so often the narrative gets siloed towards men are the problem, but women can also be the problem. So I was just going to ask, like, what is your suggestion, or what do you have to say in terms of how can we foster more respect and kindness between women, be it any industry?
You know, I've thought so much about this particular situation about women, and it's come down to something as basic. At least, you know, sometimes you have to find your own answers internally as to why is it so. And then I've come to a very, you know, logic and rationale helps you most in terms of finding some calm and some peace and some healing. I feel the share of the pie for women who have stepped out in the public domain or in the professional space has been so limited and so tight, and has been so hard earned, that when you find your space, you feel you just don't want to, you know, when you see another woman who is doing as well, you naturally feel probably more competitive, you know. And women don't tend to make clubs like boys just naturally, and that's not a bad thing that boys do it. We should learn how to make our own clubs. When I was in Marico, I knew that the boys went out on a smoking break, and the camaraderie they built in that little break is that they would back each other very differently in the marketplace also. And women somehow had a home to rush to, a child to take care of, a husband to cook for, or I mean, my husband does all the grocery, not the cooking, but sometimes, you know, ulta hai. But somewhere they had somewhere else to be, or they are the nurturers, they're the ones taking care of the older ones. So somehow women did not, apart from those cliches of kitty party aunties and women who branch, you know, the rich privileged lot, women are really multitasking all the time. So we've not had the time to, you know, sit back and say that, oh, things are better now. There are opportunities for me. And now let me make it easier for other women. And, you know, having said that, let me tell you my experience as someone who also runs a team and who's always looking to, and this is not the thing to say in a public space. I've been warned. Do not shoot your mouth off about this in the public, because your Nari Morcha ka crown is going to fall off. I find hiring men and working with them in my team much easier, you know, and this is my personal experience, that in the circles that I'm in, I'm also finding it tough to be able to get in women with the same kind of, and I'm beginning to tell myself that I need to learn how to handle women as a leader and men very differently, because their emotional profiles are different, the way they respond is different, and each has a very unique contribution that they can make to the workspace. But how we can't see them as the same, we shouldn't be expecting the same out of each. But coming back to your question, I think we just need to step back and acknowledge that things have gotten better. There are good systems in place now. After my call out on Me Too and other women, there are systems in place where escalation is possible in places like Amazon and Netflix and the sets of many films. Positive change has happened because few of us disobedient women didn't shush down. But now it's time for us to be backing each other much more, cheering each other much more, and, you know, shouting out for the champions amongst us. And not feel embarrassed that, oh, because we are always apologizing. Even during the Me Too movement, I stood up and started giving interviews about not all men. That man is quite nice. Vichara, he's just been put in a spot. Like, it was not my job to stand up for him. It was not my job to come and pat the men and say, not all of you are bad. But guess what? Another rape in Kolkata, it was a man who did it. Yeah, so it comes down to systems which are messed up. It comes down to hormones which are messed up. The power systems in our workplaces are completely warped and ulta. It's not only India. I read about the rape of a woman, Bridget, was it her name, in the Australian Parliament by a staffer. I heard about that Uber driver, 60-year-old. I read about it today in the papers, about how he's been continuously, you know, attacking women here, and he's out on bail. So rape is an epidemic around the world, And it's not just about the third world or the first world. And I think women need to rally together much more. And we don't have to feel कि मुझे छोटा सा मिठाई मिल गया है, मैं बांटना नहीं चाहती हूँ. I rather hang out with the boys and be one of the bros. I'm an achiever. And stop having awards for women in a women's category. I find that so disturbing. I'm a winner. I'm a big achiever in my field, regardless of my gender. I don't need to get a Woman's Power Award. You know, I'm powerful as an artist. You know, acknowledge me for my merit. I want to compete and win. Not in sports, because biologically I have not gotten the muscle framework for it. I don't want to compete with men in sports, for sure. That's another touchy topic, I know. But otherwise, please give me a chance. I'll be as good as any one of you. Men don't have to go out and hunt for us. Women don't have to sit at home and just, you know, those roles have changed. So let's just acknowledge that and let's feel safer.
May I just add to that though? I just feel also there's a historicity to this. There is, women often enough are also products of patriarchy. It is so deep. Women have been given one tiny share of a very large pie and asked to compete for that. Obviously there's going to be, and who's having the last laugh? The men sitting there who've given this little piece of a large pie. And therefore there is this intense competition. We need to get a larger pie, a larger piece of that pie. There is only 100% of equality. Women were getting 0.5% of it. Now they've started asking for more. Men are threatened, oh my God, there's more coming. And they are trying to hold on to it and making women, dispute amongst themselves. That is the reality. So I think we also need to be kinder to women who've not been kind to us, because they are carrying scars that are generational. They are carrying wounds that are generational. So there is historicity to it, I feel, and therefore we need to be just kinder to each other and of course rally with each other like you're saying.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have, I've been told. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. And thank you to all the lovely women here, and more power to you. Thank you.
And let's stop putting this pressure to wear heels, do 2 hours of makeup and look a certain way for us to be presentable in the public domain. I think, it's cool that you can just take a bath and brush your hair and come out. And I have to totter on heels. Let's stop with that.